Beware of bad influence. That is what I'd like us to share today. I'd like us to read from 1 Kings chapter 21, verse 1 to 25. In order to honor God, then we need to be cautious of bad influence so that we don't fall into it. So we want to look at the example of Jezebel, who was the wife of King Ahab. So influence basically is, being able to have an effect on the character or behavior of someone or something. And the first thing we want to talk about is Jezebel was controlling. Verse 4 to 7, this is what it says. So Ahab went home sullen and angry because Naboth the Jezreelite had said, I will not give you the inheritance of my fathers. He lay on his bed sulking and refused to eat. And there comes the wife. Why are you so silent? Why won't you eat? And then he gives her the answer. Because I said to Naboth, the Jezreelite, sell me your vineyard, or if you prefer, I will give you another vineyard in its place. But he said, I will not give you. And she said, is this how you act as king over Israel? Get up and eat. Cheer up. I'll get you the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. So it doesn't matter how, but leave it with me. I will get it for you. So it doesn't matter to Jezebel that this property is an inheritance which should not be sold to somebody outside the family. And of course, she manipulates in a very subtle way. Somebody would want to influence you negatively, will come indirectly, and the person would want to dominate, to arrange and fix everybody his or her way. So be aware of those who would want to be controlling in your life, those who would want to be the ones calling the shots. Something else we see about Jezebel is she was crafty, from verse 8 to 10. This has to do with being dishonest, being deceitful, ready to go to every extent to ensure that what you want done is done. And she engages in a very, very serious crime, the crime of forgery. Let's read verse 8 to 10. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name, placed his seal on them, and sent them to the elders and nobles who lived in Naboth's city with him. So Jezebel has taken the position of the king in her craftiness, in her deception. She is forging because she's writing in Ahab's name. So we can see that the deception works. And we want you to see the extent to which a person of bad influence can go. We are commanded not to tell lies, not to give false testimony. God abhors that. It is evil in his sight. But then Jezebel was ready to do this. So be careful. Somebody may create and fabricate a story, even use slander just to get through, to influence another negatively. Then thirdly, Jezebel was cruel, beastly, murderous. She didn't care about the welfare of others and was ready to cause pain or suffering. Verse 11 to 14. So the elders and nobles who lived in Naboth's city did as Jezebel directed in the letters she had written to them. They proclaimed a fast and seated Naboth in a prominent place among the people. Then two scoundrels came and sat opposite him and brought charges against Naboth before the people, saying, Naboth has cursed both God and the king. So they took him outside the city and stoned him to death. Then they sent word to Jezebel, Naboth has been stoned and is dead. Seriously, a negative influencer will not care. He is ready to cause pain and suffering to another person, not bothered about other people as long as they get their way. So be careful. Such people will go to every extent. They will not care. If it's their slander that is causing worry and anxiety to another person, they will not care. Whatever suffering, it's their way at that time. And so don't say that you can be immune to bad influence. No, I cannot say that. I have had to say no so many times. In the workplace, wherever, these things come. But you just have to stand your ground. And next we see that Jezebel was conceited. Verse 15 and 16. She was proud, very arrogant. And pride comes before a fall, and God detests the proud. Verse 15. As soon as Jezebel heard that Naboth had been stoned to death, she said to Ahab, "Get up and take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite that he refused to sell you." When Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, he got up and went down to take possession of Naboth's vineyard. What a shame. So let's guard against pride and arrogance that will draw us away from God, will draw us away from being concerned about the people of God. If you're concerned for somebody, you will not want them to go the wrong way. Your conscience will not allow it. Lastly, Jezebel was condemned. Jezebel was condemned by God himself. Verse 23 and 24. And also concerning Jezebel, the Lord says, "Dogs will devour Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel. Dogs will eat those belonging to Ahab, who die in the city, and the birds of the air will feed on those who die in the country." Condemnation is awaiting a negative influencer. You cannot go far. And she was condemned along with the husband whom she influenced negatively. Be careful that you don't cause others to be condemned and you are not condemned because of having a negative impact on someone's character or behavior. God does not approve of evil, and the evildoer will be punished. And punished as God says. May the Lord help us to beware of bad influence.